Last Monday, I made a bold promise that I wouldn't be doing any more Eddie Howe videos until Eddie Howe is confirmed as Celtic's next manager. This is absolutely not an Eddie Howe video. We did have a report that came out last night I'm going to go into in a wee minute, but while things have been quite quiet at Celtic since our season ended at Easter Road, there have been a number of developments featuring former players who I think deserve a bit of congratulations. First up, Mr. Moussa Dembele, Atletico Madrid. You may only have played 90 minutes for them this season since signing in January, but you're still a La Liga champion. An amazing achievement for Atletico, Diego Simeone, and great to see Moussa Dembele, the league champion again. Well deserved for him. Interesting to see whether he stays at Atletico next season, whether he earns a permanent deal, whether he goes back to play for Lyon, whether he finds another club in England, Germany, Spain, Italy, Poland. It'll be interesting to see where Moussa Dembele ends up, but well done to him. Equally, well done Timothy Weah. You didn't make quite the same impact at Celtic as Moussa Dembele, but we respect all of our former players, and to be fair to you, you've played a decent part in a major triumph in the French League, and Lille are the champions of France. They beat PSG to the title last night with victory over Angers. Bit surprised to see Lille the best team in France. I mean, they took 1 point out of 6 against Neil Lennon's Celtic this season. But yeah, Atletico, Lille, Sporting Lisbon, Rangers. It really has been a season for small teams to win big titles. Hopefully things will return back to normal when fans are actually at football games. And on the subject of doing well and things returning back to normal, well done St Johnstone, the most dominant team in Scottish football this season. 2 trophies they won, that's double any other team won. A great achievement for them. Hopefully we're back to put them in their place next season. But yes, this is strictly not an Eddie Howe video. I've promised you that, and I am nothing if not a man who sticks to his word. In fact, I'm not even going to mention Eddie Howe for the rest of the video. How about that? Let's see how far I get. Okay, we should have our new manager this week. We will have all of the reaction if and when that is announced. Unless it's on Friday, because I've booked to go away to Edinburgh for the bank holiday weekend. So Celtic, if you're watching this and you're kind of thinking about what day may be best to announce a new manager, please don't make it Friday. Even Thursday night at 11 o'clock would suit me. It wouldn't be ideal, but I'd take it. The Daily Record say that the new manager will be unveiled this week, with a director of football possibly coming in at the exact same time. But yeah, Dominic McKay, I wanted to focus in on him on this video because there was a couple of interesting wee lines in that aforementioned report written by the Daily Record. And they probably go under the radar a little bit because everyone's focusing in on the main thing, Eddie Howe. Oh! Genuinely didn't mean to say his name there. Apologies. It won't happen again. They're focusing in on the major news story at Celtic, which is the new manager. But the interesting line that I thought sprung out for me was that Dominic McKay had actually joined Dermot Desmond in meeting you-know-who down in London a couple of months ago. Now, we'd heard about this originally when it was first reported, but then the story was changed, amended is the word I'm looking for, to suggest that it was actually Peter Lawwell who joined Dermot Desmond in said meeting down south. But now it seems like the Daily Record are pretty confident that it was in fact Dominic McKay. You may be thinking, this doesn't really matter. Peter Lawwell, Dominic McKay, doesn't matter who joined. I think it's quite important and it's quite interesting that Dominic McKay has seemingly been involved in this appointment right from way back in early April, before he'd even come into the transition role at Celtic. He's got a lot of work to do, Dominic McKay, and I think it's encouraging to see that he's heavily involved in this appointment of the manager. And if he's involved in this appointment, he will be involved in other things going on at the club at the moment in this transitional period. Season ticket sales, the season ticket campaign, he'll be involved in that. Bringing in a director of football, he'll be heavily involved in that. when the new manager and the new director of football are announced, it will be Dominic McKay that will be sitting next to them as opposed to Peter Lawwell. But he's also got to mend the relationship between the club and the supporters, which is really, really broken at this stage, I would suggest. Thankfully, he does have good experience of doing this at Scottish Rugby. When Dominic McKay first came into the SRU, Scotland only ever sold out Murrayfield for big Six Nations games against England, Ireland and Wales, and that was when there was a big away support coming. Nowadays, Scotland sell out pretty much every game at Murrayfield. There's a real feel-good factor around Scottish Rugby, partly because the team has improved, but probably more so about the atmosphere and the environment that he created at Murrayfield, an enticing environment. It'll be interesting to see if he does the same at Celtic. As I say, there's a lot of work ahead of him, but I think this is a promising sign that he's been heavily involved in bringing in the new manager. So now that the season is over, consigned to history, never speaking about the ills of that campaign ever again on the channel, what have we got to look forward to in the coming weeks and months? Now, I know that the Euros are going to take up virtually everyone's attention this summer. Scotland being back after a 23-year wait is a pretty big deal, but Celtic aren't going to be going anywhere. We may not be training for a good few weeks yet. We may not play another game until start of July, another competitive game till the end of July, but Celtic are going to be in the news constantly this summer. Let's just take a look at some of the key dates that are ahead of us. So the first one that isn't an exact date yet is the appointment of the new manager. I think it'll be this week. I'm pretty confident it'll be this week. I know we've said it'll be this week, it'll be this week, it'll be this week for the last 53,000 weeks, but it will be this week. I'm very confident of that. Not based on anything ITK other than just looking at what people are saying. So ideally we'll have the new manager, who we all know who that will be, appointed this week. He will meet media. He will meet, hopefully, Celtic fan media as well at some stage. We'll get to hear him talking about his plans for Celtic, ideally next to Dominic McKay. We may get the sporting director coming in at that stage as well, as I predicted. And then probably very shortly afterwards, we'll hear about the manager's backroom team. So Simon Weatherston and Stephen Purchase from Bournemouth will now seemingly be free to join Celtic, seeing as their season is over. We may hear about Richard Hughes as well, coming to the club also from Bournemouth. Mark Burchill possibly as well. Fergal Harkin, where will he fit into all of this stuff? There's a lot of stuff that needs ironed out, but I think it will happen quite quickly. Very shortly after that, Celtic will hit the support with a season ticket proposal. I think supporters will buy into it if the managerial appointment is the one we're all expecting. On the very day I'm recording this video, we will find out the final team that will be taking part in the Scottish Premiership next season. By the time you're watching this video, you may well know it'll be either Kilmarnock or Dundee. My preference, despite being from Ayrshire, is Dundee. Why? Because I'm not a huge fan of AstroTurf pitches, and with Hamilton already leaving the league, if we could just have one in the league next season, Livingston, then I wouldn't be too gutted about that. We'll have to wait a bit longer for the start of the season, although not as long as in previous seasons, because the Scottish Premiership campaign will kick off in July this year for the first time in 10 years now. It is admittedly in the final day of July, but it's still the earliest start in a decade. The fixtures will be revealed on June the 15th. That's a day after Scotland play their opening match in Euro 2020. And it's a busy period that. You'll have Scotland starting on the Monday, the fixtures for the league campaign out on the Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday we will have the Champions League draw for the second round of qualifying. So a lot of good stuff going on there with Celtic. The transfer window will already be open at that stage. It begins on June the 9th, while Celtic should be back in training round about the third week in June. That was the kind of indicative date given by John Kennedy in one of his final press conferences of the season. That could obviously change depending on what the new manager wants, depending on what's happening with COVID at that stage, but you're probably looking at a mid-June start for Celtic coming back to pre-season training. In terms of pre-season fixtures, nothing has been confirmed yet as far as I'm aware, although the big report we got a few weeks ago was that West Ham are due up in Glasgow for a friendly on July the 24th, so this will obviously be at Celtic Park. It's scheduled for the weekend, sandwiched by our first and second leg of our first Champions League qualifier. So, like we have done in previous seasons, you will no doubt see a real weakened Celtic side playing West Ham at Celtic Park. It's probably a notable fixture because it's David Moyes and it's a good English side, West Ham, but as I say, it'll be a weakened Celtic side. It's probably going to be quite a good opportunity for Celtic to get fans into Celtic Park for the first time in, I think, about 17 or 18 months. At that stage, it'd be good if we could get a good number, 5,000 or 6,000 in Celtic Park minimum at that stage to hopefully build up to a larger crowd at the start of the competitive season. Other interesting things happening around this time. July the 1st, Dominic McKay will actually start as his own man. Peter Law will leave the club the day before for the final time, and Dominic McKay will have the greatest say in everything at Celtic. He can choose where he wants to take Celtic. It's a lot of pressure, but a big opportunity for him. It'd be great to hear from him in that week, speaking to fans if he hasn't already done it at that stage. He'll have a kit to promote, a new kit that should be out around about the 10th of July. That's when we released it last season. So interesting to note whether that happens as well. And we've not even spoken about players coming and going. We know Scott Brown has already left the club. He'll be spending the summer with ITV with their Euro 2020 coverage. Great move for him and Joe Ledley, by the way. But will Odsonne Edouard still be around for the start of pre-season training? I know the Olympics are mentioned for him as well. When will the club make their first signing? Could we be looking at that before the end of May, or is that just way too soon? They have to push on with it. There's a lot of work to do. So yeah, a lot ahead. It's just as well 67 Hail Hail isn't going anywhere this summer. We will have a week off next week to calm things down and come back revitalised for the Euros. But that's just a wee snapshot of what is to come for Celtic. It's going to be a hectic summer, and we'll keep you updated with everything here. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video as well, tell your pals about us, and we'll speak to you very soon.